G'day Internet, Sticks with Bemused right here, and today I'm going to tell you about a real-life Dr. Frankenstein. Now this guy goes by the name of Dr. Sergio Canavero, and he announced to the world a few days ago that he wants to do a head transplant, a real-life human head transplant. So what he wants to do is he wants to take your head, remove it from your body, and put it on someone else's body. Now, he doesn't care if it's your head or someone else's head. He just wants to take your head and put it on someone else's body. The idea being that people who are quadriplegic or who have cancer ruining their body can then take a full body transplant and then get on their way. Now take a look at this guy. This guy is a legitimate badass crazy scientist. I mean, just look at him there with his spaghetti telephone. He doesn't know what he's doing. And basically, he just wants to make history. Now, experiments like this have happened before. In the 50s, the Russians, being crazy and Russian, they would take a dog and they would amputate the body of the dog and keep the dog alive. They would use machines to keep it alive because it didn't have a body anymore. And they'll keep it alive for a few days, and that is creepy, right? Then in the 60s, a Dr. Robert J. White would take it a step further in the USA, and he, with his team, they took a monkey, removed the brain out of the monkey, and kept the brain alive for 12 hours. Now, this brain that they removed, they could read that it was active. They could read that it was alive. They can't be sure whether it was conscious or like in a sleeping state, but imagine if this brain was thinking. What sort of thoughts would a brain just by itself have? Then in 1970, the same doctor, Dr. Robert J. White, with his team, decided to leave the brain in the skull this time, thankfully, leave it inside the head, and they instead removed it from the body and put it onto the body of another monkey. They kept that head alive for 9 days, I think, using the power of this other monkey's body. Now, they didn't connect the spinal cord, so the monkey couldn't control anything beyond his face, so he needed assistance in breathing and things like that. Now, I just saw a video today that explains all this, and I would recommend that you do not watch this video, because you can tell just from the thumbnail, it is pretty disgusting, it's pretty sick, it's pretty creepy. If you care about animals at all, don't watch it. If you're a vegetarian for the sake of animals, don't watch it. If you can see and understand visual input with your eyeballs, I do not recommend watching this clip. If you are morbidly curious, and if you are pretty soulless like myself, yeah, you can get through it. I'm actually not sure if I'm happy I saw the video or not, to be honest. So instead, we can see handy little diagrams like this instead. Oh, and the thing I missed is the dogs that the Russians were experimenting with. They wouldn't just amputate the body and leave it there. They would remove the top part of a dog and attach it to a larger dog. Now, they did this a few times and kept it alive for a few days. I think, here we go. It's even creepier when it's taxidermied like this, but the little dog's getting it piggyback. Now, Dr. Sergio Canavero, he actually talked a lot about this in a TED Talk, but this is only half of a TED Talk. I don't know why, I don't know where the other half is. I imagine he amputated it and stuck it on the half of another video. But he explained this was back in December 2014, and it's just broken news again because he's announced it again that he wants to do it pretty damn soon in the next couple of years. But this is an experiment, the transplant of a head. It hasn't actually been successfully done on anything before, and he wants to just go straight to human trials, which is kind of awkward because if you try to detach a head and attach it on something else, you can't really go back if it stuffs up. Like if you try stem cell therapy, right, and try to heal a spinal cord with stem cells, you can go, oh, the stem cells didn't work, we'll try again another day. Whereas if you remove a head and it doesn't work, then the person's pretty much dead. That's a bit morbid, I'm sorry. But the proposed process of what he wants to do is essentially take two bodies, preferably living, I imagine. One with a healthy head, one with a healthy body. You then very finely amputate them. And once the head's removed, this is the cool part, you actually cool it down to about 10 degrees Celsius so that it doesn't need as much oxygen, so it can sort of survive a little bit longer while in the process of this operation. And then you stick it on the other body, you stitch it all up, you plug all the tubes back in, and the tough part's the spinal cord. Now what they want to do there is basically put the two spinal cords together, introduce a little bit of plastic or glue, and then basically encourage the two to melt and fuse together, which is really weird. And then that brain would then need to learn how to speak to all the arm muscles, the arm nerves, the leg nerves, all the organs as well. Like, it would need to figure all this out. And the way he proposes they do this is they induce a coma into this patient. They stay in the coma for 4 weeks. They introduce electrical shocks into the nervous system to encourage all the little nerves to join together, which is kind of like Frankenstein's monster, right? Like with the electricity to freaking bring it to life. It's kind of the same, but you do that over the course of 4 weeks and not just in one big lightning strike. So then after the 4 weeks, the patient wakes up, they slowly learn to use their arms and their legs again, they speak in their own voice, and then of course, off you go, back to work on Monday. Now, whether this is possible or not is up for pretty decent debate, right? There was actually an article posted on Australian Popular Science that apparently discredited the whole science behind it and said, no, this can't actually happen. Head transplants will not be possible. Reddit picked it up, but this link actually doesn't go anywhere. It just leads to the home page. So it seems as if the article was removed, maybe because of its controversial nature or because of its... maybe it is actually possible and they don't want to just put up false accusations. But the bigger questions that have come up is as to whether this is ethical or not. Because especially you can imagine moving a head of one person onto the body of another doesn't necessarily move that person across. They're not necessarily the same person. Like, you could argue that yes, the entirety of yourself is encapsulated inside your head, but we don't know if there's any part of you that exists anywhere else in your body. So this sort of comes up with heart transplants and stomach transplants. And I don't think they transplant stomachs all that often, but you know what I mean. When they put part of another person inside you, it doesn't really mix well. Like, it doesn't sit well with a lot of people, like especially religious people, of course, because they don't want to play God. But even people just on moral standings and with different ethical views might not necessarily agree with it. Personally, I'm okay with the idea. I don't have a problem with moving the head from one person to the other. I think it's going to be the same person, just with a different body. But I wouldn't actually have my head removed and put on someone else. I think with the way like medical science is going and the way 3D printing is going, I'm pretty sure by the time we can do this sort of head transplant stuff, you'd be able to put your head, get your head, put it on top of a totally 3D printed body. They'll scan your body, your living body, they'll print out a brand new one for you with a fake heart, fake stomach, fake kidneys, fake liver, all that sort of good stuff. They'll be able to put you together. And then you can go off and you can fight crime, you can become Robo-Man or Cyborg Woman. And I think that's a much preferable solution than just getting another body that can sort of, get fat and get cancer and all that sort of rubbish thing, Get rid of all that, get the silicon robot body, fight crime, and there's less chance of your body actually rejecting the robot body too. Could be a bit more expensive, I think, but this operation just to move head to other body, that costs 10 million euros anyway, so it's not like it's cheap regardless. But what do you think, guys? Would you have your head and put it onto someone else's body? I don't think a lot of people would opt out of that, but if they were in a very deadly situation, it's like, well, the only way we can save you is to try to put you on this other guy's body. Hey, you might, consider it. But I do think it has a very low chance of success if they actually do go through with this. I don't think they will get to, because there'll be too much opposition to it, just for ethical and moral reasons. But I'm curious to see what you think. Let me know down below in the thing. And just remember, if you put yourself on the donor registry, organ donor registry in your country, maybe one day a celebrity will put their head on your body and you will finally become famous. That's it from me, guys. Remember, you can catch me on Twitter or down in the comments below. And remember to have a great day. Okay, bye.